Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Let's just jump right into it, because we're looking at an absolutely massive paradigm shift in the world of artificial intelligence right now. I mean, think back just a few seasons. The whole world was totally captivated by the simple fact that a machine could talk back coherently. But, well, that honeymoon phase? Yeah, it's officially over. We've rapidly moved from this state of wide-eyed wonder to a strict, non-negotiable demand for trust. So today, we're going to explore this massive transition. We'll use a really cool framework that views the whole AI landscape as an evolving realm, a place where these models are no longer magical novelties, but entities that have to constantly prove their reliability to a deeply skeptical world.
The reality is, fluency is no longer a miracle. In this allegorical realm of AI development, let's call it the realm of Corpusia. Every major tech company or house has raised these AI models, their children, so to speak, and they can all speak perfectly fluently. They act with digital hands, they see and hear the world around them with honestly incredible precision. But here's the thing, conversational fluency is just the baseline now. Anyone with enough compute can build a chatbot that sounds convincingly human. But sounding human, it's simply not enough anymore. Because with that fluency comes a persistent underlying problem that we all have to face head-on.
Which leads us to the one central question we literally have to ask every single time we prompt a system. Should I believe what it just told me? As these AI models got exponentially more capable, the tech community stopped asking, can it do this, and started asking this much harder, far more critical question. Why? Because riding along with every single AI model ever born is this persistent trickster spirit. Hallucination. It's that inherent tendency of generative AI to confidently just make things up. Remember, it's mathematically predicting the next word, not checking for absolute ground truth. Now, this trickster might be quiet in some systems and incredibly loud in others, but it is always there. And now, the entire industry has had to organize itself around trying to catch it in the act.
So we've decisively moved away from the old standard of mere fluency, simply asking, can it speak? We are in a rigorous new frontier of trust, asking, is it actually correct? Trust, unlike fluency, can't just be trained into a model overnight by dumping a trillion more parameters into a server farm. Actually, scratch that. It's more like trust has to be actively earned, rigorously tested, and then continuously re-earned season after season. And this is all happening in front of a public that is no longer easily dazzled by a machine generating a quick poem. It's a huge shift from being impressed by a theatrical performance to demanding absolute accuracy and utility from the results. All right, bringing us to Section 1, the thinkers and the rise of the reasoners. Around late 2024 and heading into 2025, a specific type of AI model that had been practicing quietly in the background finally matured into something the world just couldn't ignore anymore.
So what exactly are they? Well, reasoners are AI models that practice a private inner monologue. Instead of immediately spitting out the very first word that comes to mind, they deliberately pause to turn a problem over before answering. Think about OpenAI's O-series models, which were built almost entirely around this discipline of reinforcement learning. Or Anthropic, who taught extended, visible deliberation into Claude's reasoning process. Google and others, they trained their own long-thinking specialists in parallel. What was once this rare experimental trait confined to research labs quickly became an expected baseline skill across nearly every major tech company's lineup.
In practice, the AI visibly pauses, and sometimes for a long while. It turns the problem over, it checks its first idea against a second idea, it actively discards a plausible but incorrect answer, and finally delivers a refined, accurate response. It's this fascinating, visible deliberation process where the AI is literally catching its own mistakes in a hidden chain of thought before it ever speaks them out loud to you. And honestly, watching that little loading spinner sit there thinking for 30 seconds, it's a real test of our modern lack of patience. But the refined output makes the wait entirely worthwhile.
The absolutely crucial point here is the trade-off, patience traded for correctness. Everyone watching this evolution could see the profound bargain we were making. A reasoner model is slower to speak. Sometimes it can be maddeningly slow if you're used to instant rapid-fire chatbots. But the answers that emerge, whether it's a really complex mathematical proof, a tricky piece of multi-file software code, or a multi-step strategic business plan, they actually hold up under real, intense scrutiny. We gladly traded instant gratification for reliable trust.
Moving on to Section 2, the doers, as agents enter the workforce. Because while the reasoners were busy deepening their inner thoughts, another massive class of AI was leaving the digital nursery entirely and setting up shop in the real working world. In our allegorical realm of Corpusia, AI models form specialized guild halls for specific trades like coding or data analysis. But in the real world, this translates directly to autonomous workspaces like Cursor and Claude Code. These aren't just fantasy concepts cooked up in a sci-fi novel. No way. These are the exact tools deployed in production environments right now, today. We aren't just talking about a passive chatbot suggesting a quick fix in a browser window anymore. These are highly capable, independent systems built specifically for executing a single, complex trade.
To really grasp exactly how independent they are, just consider their workflow. These guild-trained agents can autonomously open a file on your local machine. They can write and make the code change themselves. They run the compiler, they run the tests, and if the build fails, they read the failure logs, figure out exactly what went wrong, and they try again. They loop through these intricate steps, often for many minutes or literally hours at a stretch, without any prompting from us. They only stop to check in with their human employer when a true, high-level structural decision is actually needed. The profound realization here is that agent is no longer a novelty trick. It has literally become a profession. This emphasizes the sheer, unprecedented scale of the evolution we're witnessing right now. We've moved from AI that gives you a muffin recipe or writes a cute limerick to AI that executes end-to-end jobs within an enterprise infrastructure. The immense responsibility placed on these systems has just skyrocketed, which makes that question of trust we discussed earlier exponentially more critical.
Which brings us to Section 3, the Watchers and building the Watchtowers. You see, a realm full of faster-thinking, highly independent AI models makes that old question, can we trust this one, impossible to leave solely up to the financial incentives of the companies building them.
So for the first time, massive shared infrastructure is being aggressively built to monitor them. We have new evaluation grounds that don't just measure a model's fluency, but actively measure an AI for deception, severe tool misuse, and dangerous knowledge retrieval. We have formalized red teaming guilds, bands of cynical, brilliant experts whose entire job is trying to trick, provoke, or break an AI system before it's ever released to the public. Beyond the tech companies themselves, governments are raising their own watchtowers. You've got government AI safety institutes in the US and the UK demanding to test powerful models independently. And of course, the long monsoon of regulation, most notably the EU's Comprehensive AI Act, is finally settling into an enforceable, legal reality. And among all these watchers is a particularly fascinating, highly specialized group, interpretability scholars. This is a patient, meticulous order of researchers who aren't just judging an AI by what it says aloud on some evaluation test. No, they are trying to crack open the AI's digital skull, so to speak, to read the very shape of its thoughts from the inside. By mapping the activation of specific neurons and circuits within the model, they want to know exactly why the AI made a decision. They want to ensure the underlying reasoning itself is fundamentally safe, unbiased, and trustworthy at a mathematical level.
But despite all these massive watchtowers, all the brilliant scholars, and all the international laws, we have to acknowledge a pretty harsh reality. The trickster is never entirely banished. Hallucination adapts the way it always has. It might be quieter and far less frequent in a carefully designed reasoning system, and sure, it might be bolder in a reckless open-source model pushed out way too fast. But it is never truly gone. What has changed is simply that we've built permanent, structural institutions whose entire purpose is watching for it, rather than just blindly hoping the AI was trained well enough to behave.
This leads us to Section 4, the scaffolding and the new AI bargain, because we are looking at a fundamentally mature state of this technological realm now.
AI is far less like a chaotic nursery of shiny new toys and much more like a working, functional civilization. Its creations can think longer, act much more independently, and be checked far more rigorously than ever before. But still, absolutely none of that makes any single answer from any single AI completely unquestionable. And you know what? That's actually okay. We have finally become honest as a society about that fact. The fierce competition between the major tech companies isn't just about who has the absolute smartest model anymore. It's about how those models interact with the watchtowers, with the regulators, and with the entire societal scaffolding we've built to safely live, build, and work right alongside them.
Which leaves us with a final, really provocative thought. We've built the watchtowers, the evaluators, the red teamers, and the laws, but can they ever truly catch the trickster? As these AI agents become ever more complex and increasingly autonomous in our daily workflows, will our scaffolding be strong enough to hold them? Or will the persistent trickster of hallucination always find a new, unpredictable way to slip through the cracks? It's a fascinating question, right? And it's one that will absolutely define the very future of how we interact with technology. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer today. Keep questioning everything, and I'll see you in the next one.